with your vanilla chariots that don't have the banner and the prince, unless it's a flank charge or something. Next picture, the Scorpion on the other side of the battlefield has shown up and scared away the crew, so it's taken out one cannon. So really, I've got only one cannon left to deal with, I think. And yeah, the prince, of course, wipes out all of these guys closest to where he is and overruns into the handgunners. So prince is holding his flank pretty well. Next picture, of course, the king, in the meantime, and the skeleton warriors dispatch the pistoliers and chase them all off the table, so a huge chunk of points gone there, and the king's now free to fly back to wherever he is needed. And these skeletons here, although they're taken down to half strength, will be able to take a table quarter, so that's their plan. Next photo, what's happened here is that, yeah, so the chariots in the center have taken a wound, haven't beaten the spearmen in combat, even though they've killed 5 of them, taken out a rank, and the prince has bashed through one unit, and he's just overrun into this next unit of 3 handgunners. I'd whittled down the handgunners thanks to a couple of bow shots earlier on. In the far background, the swarm has shown up, has killed the cannon, so all the war machine's gone except for the steam tank, which is half wound, so it's pretty much gone. There's nothing it can really do anymore. And now the swarm is in combat with the handgunners on the hill. Next photo, what happens here is the knights charge all the way around, getting in a position to charge into my archers later on, and probably overrun into the Skelepult, knowing what would happen. But I have a sneaky plan to deal with this. In the background, the Carrion has taken a single wound off the Battle Wizard, and he's taken a wound himself, so it'll only be one more round of combat before I can do anything. If you look at the top right of the photo, the spearmen have charged into the flank of my chariots, which are already engaged. So that group of 2 mobs is really going to wipe me out. And in the meantime, in the background, I've got the prince overrun into the handgunner. So we'll find out how this works out shortly. Next photo, yeah. So this is how it works out. So the unit of spearmen which charged into the flank of my chariots destroyed the chariots, and because they were the group charging, they were allowed to overrun. The other group of spearmen had to stay where they were, so the overrunning group of spearmen charge around the side and into the flank of my prince's chariots at the same time as the prince doing an impact hits on the 3 guys in front of them. So this turned out to be roughly a drawn combat because the 3 combat res that I got from killing the guys pretty much evened up the static combat res charging in from my flank there. So this could be a long, brutal combat with the Scorpion coming in as a reinforcement in a couple of turns' time. But he's going to reform his other group of spearmen, which are currently unengaged, and then charge them into the flank of the prince as well. So the prince has got a long, hard road ahead of him, but at least we're into some brutal melee combat involving plenty of troops and characters. So we'll see how this works out. By the way, in the background, you can see that you probably can't see it too clearly, but the king has flown over to join the unit of archers, the unit of 10 archers, which is reformed so that there's 5 of them, 5 and 2 ranks. Well, they haven't reformed, they've just subtracted ranks. And he's going to get ready to attack the knights in the magic phase. Next photo shows that a bit more clearly. In the center, I've just kept pulling back my Tomb Guard so that they're far away from the big unit of greatswords in the center, the stubborn greatswords with the Arc Lector and the BSB. Really want to avoid that unit for now. The swarm has been destroyed, so has the Carrion, but the Carrion has accomplished its mission by taking out that battle mage, that Battle Wizard, and fortunately the Battle Wizard actually had the Dispel Scroll, so I've cut down on his magic phase even further by knocking it out, and you can just make out the big great weapon that the King's holding in that unit of 10 skeletons next to the small forest over the far left. And the Hierophants backed out and joined the catapult crew just in case I don't get the charge off, and just in case the Knights slam into my unit of 15 archers on the hill over here. Next photo, yeah, so this is where you can see it much more clearly. The King's right in front, and it's the magic phase time for the Tomb Kings. And basically, because I've moved the Hierophant back over to where the catapult is, you can't see him in the photo, but he's within 12 inches just of the unit of 10 archers of the left. So with the King magic moving a couple of times, and with the Hierophant doing it as well, my opponent only has 4 Dispel dice thanks to losing his Battle Wizard, and I should be able to get into combat with the Knights. So next picture. Here we are in combat with the Knights, and if it was just archers, I'd get obliterated, but I've got the King there, and thanks to the King being able to cast Smiting every time it's my turn, and doing his special Destroyer of Eternity's attack, I should be able to get rid of these Knights. Next photo, in the background the melee is swirling away, but in the foreground it's his turn, and he's just moving forward with his greatswords, and not really getting too far. I'm going to hold out until the last couple of turns before dealing with these guys because they're stubborn, well, they're unbreakable actually, and they've got 2 tough characters. They've got the Arc Lector with a big powerful mace, as well as Van Horstman's Speculum, and the Imperial Banner, of course. Next photo, the Scorpion charges in. Note that the unit of Spearmen in the background isn't in combat yet, but in the next turn they'll be charging in as well. But the Scorpion is there to gain a few extra hits and give me some crucial combat res there. So this combat's looking good. I'm slowly killing a lot of guys here, but I'm losing the combat by one every time. So every time I'm losing a few chariots, I've already lost one whole chariot, as you can see. And it's going to be a long road to victory. Next turn, you can see the brutal carnage there. The king and company have actually taken out all of the knights except one, and in the next combat phase, it's going to be a death to that final knight. But as you may have noticed, I'm right in front of a big group of like 15 or 20 handgunners on the hill and below the hill, as well as the steam tank. Steam tank can't shoot because he's lost almost all of his wounds, but the guy at the top can pull out his repeater and blast me as well. So that's going to be fun. Next photo, this is a brilliant photo. How many guys are in short range? So what happened here is the guy in the steam tank jumped out and fired his repeater pistol, didn't inflict any wounds. But the next lot of fire from the next unit took out the king's friend and wounded him once. Then the final lot of guys shot everything at him and didn't wound him, so came off really lightly there. I didn't even get under half strength for the wounds of the king, so it's fully intact. And next turn I can either just attack the steam tank and kill it, or fly back to wherever he's needed. Great photo of this, just bird's eye view, or just from the table view of the Tomb King. Very nice photo. Next photo, alright, so I've skipped a couple of pictures, but what's happened here is that the king has flown back to the Tomb Guard, and the Hierophant's coming nearby, and all of my magic moves has got me to charge into the Tomb Guard, into the Greatswords, sorry is what I meant. And the king has assassinated the BSB with his Killing Blow Destroyer attack. Arc Lictor is in a challenge with the unit champion for the Tomb Guard, and I'm outnumbering at this point, and I forgot to dispel his unbreakable thing, but I can dispel it later. There's still going to be one turn left for me to do that, and the combat's raging away. He's unbreakable, so even though I won the combat here by killing a bunch of his guys, he's fine. And in the background, the Scorpion and the Treads have killed everything except the one single Spearman left in that unit, so I should be able to pincer him in his next turn, and then charge into the flank with my Scorpion at the end of the game and seal it. And the steam tank's gone, because the Scullipult shot at it again and wiped it out, so netted 300 points there for the steam tank, thank God. Next photo, victory, sweet victory. The Hierophant's unit of archers saves the day by charging in the flank. I used my 2 power dice, which, interestingly enough, Tomb Kings actually generate 2 power dice, which they cannot use for anything except dispelling remains in play spells during the turn. That's a very little known fact, but if you're a Tomb Kings player, you might want to remember that, because it'll really help you. So dispelling the unbreakable thing, everybody runs down the, because this is turn 6 anyway, and I got the second turn, so there's no chance for him to rally. Ran down the Greatswords and the Arc Lictor, and it just remains to be seen what happens in the final combat at the back there, but the Scorpion has dished out the last casualty, and he's charged into the flank of the last remaining, 7 spearmen. So final photo, the Prince and Spearmen save the day by wiping out the rest of the infantry, and my opponent's left with only 2 units of handgunners on the field, whereas I've got 3 characters, unit of chariots, half strength, Scorpion, Scallywags, the skeletons in the far back field, capturing a table quarter. I've got the Tomb Guard, I've got the archers. The Scullipult fired a shot in his final turn, trying to make them panic, but I misfired and lost a crewman, so he got half points for it. Unbelievable, but this was a cracker of a game, really enjoyed it, and looked like a solid victory for the Tomb Kings. Thanks, guys.